This is your reminder video that today you should be turning in your Graphing Arctic Sea Ice assignment. This video is going to go over what exactly I'm going to be looking at and expecting in order for you to get 100% on this assignment. So the first chunk was 1.3, Graphing Arctic Sea Ice. I'm going to be looking to make sure you actually completed this data table. And I'm also going to be double checking that you actually graphed that data. All right. I'm not going to look super into the accuracy of the data points because I know we had, some problems with that first set of data there in that first column. But I am looking for you to have attempted this graph. All right. I will also be double checking that you have question number 3 answered that asks you about the general trend that you think you might see in this graph. All right. That's 1.3. When you go to 1.4, what I'm going to be looking at is if you have a trend line for the Lake Superior data. Again, not looking at accuracy necessarily of like the location of the points, but just, did you get a good attempt at trying to create that trend line for the data? And then also looking at your answers for questions 6 and 7. If you want to double check your work, you can do that now. For question 6, it's just asking you what is the trend you see, and all you should be saying is positive, negative, or no trend at all, and then explaining that. For 7, that's where you need to be talking about what is actually happening to the ice based on that trend. Okay, so there is a difference between questions 6 and 7. For section 1.5, what I'm looking for is a trend line here. And some people had some questions about how they could possibly graph that trend line because it is just a quote unquote sketch. What I would recommend is labeling your axes so that you get a decent idea where your points should be falling. So for example, I labeled the numbers 1 through 8 on the y-axis. And then for the x-axis, you could do it by clusters of years. So what was it, like 1979 to 1983? So you could just put like 79 to 83 as like your first 5-year interval down below, and then you'd put your average, and then you do the next 5 years, so 84 to whatever, and then put your next dot, and then all the way across, right? Again, this is supposed to just be a sketch, so I'm not necessarily looking for accuracy, but I will know that you have done the calculations correctly if your trend line matches the trend line that I got, at least most of the way. All right. Once you have those, let's quickly go over the remaining questions because I know I didn't get to go over those with you in class. So question number 9 says, what do you see? Write a description of the trend line. Remember, you are describing what's happening to the line, not the ice. So again, when we describe trend lines, we're saying, is it positive, is it negative, or is there no trend line there? Question number 10, explain in your own words what this trend line tells us about what's happening to the Arctic sea ice. So just like with the Lake Superior question, you're actually explaining, is there more sea ice? Is there less sea ice? Is there no change in the Arctic sea ice? Right? So if 9 is the mathy version of it, 10 is the story version of this sea ice. Be careful in question number 10 that you're just describing facts. Okay, you're not trying to explain why there is more, less, or no change in the sea ice. You're just saying straight up facts, what is happening to the sea ice. In question number 11, it says, why do you think it is important to look for overall trends in the Arctic sea ice? You want to explain, why did we have to use a trend line and not just look at the data points as they were plotted originally? Okay, so why are trend lines important for us when trying to figure out what's happening with Arctic sea ice? At the same time, remember in Lake Superior, I was telling you, or not Lake Superior, but the crazy winter that Michigan had in like 2014, right? And then we looked at the world data, and it was a map of the world with different colors and stuff to describe the average temperature of that area. And we said, would it make sense to look at just Michigan to describe the overall trend on a global scale? And you guys were all like, no way, Mrs. Billy, that doesn't make sense to do that. Okay, so like why? Same thing with Arctic sea ice. Would it make sense to just take 1 year's worth of data and say, okay, there's our trend? Or would it make sense to take just one 5-year interval and say, there's our trend, why or why not? Question number 12 says, based on the trend line, can you predict how many square miles of Arctic sea ice there will be 5 years from now? Come up with a rough number or an average, what you think it could be. If you can, or if you don't think it's possible to make that prediction, also make sure you back up why you think that. So again, this is a graded assignment. I believe it's worth 15 points, so about 5 points per section. If you have any questions on it, you can still come to office hours on Monday and ask them and then turn it in. That's totally fine. If you've already submitted your work and you want to unsubmit it and check it over now that you've watched this video, you can do that too. You guys know me. I'm not super harsh on deadlines. I like quality over deadlines. So let me know what you guys need if you need anything.